it's not Thursday. I can't say happy Thursday. So happy Monday. We switched up the nights on you. See if you were paying attention. As you can see, in my house, it's Christmas already. We have a tradition that the Sunday before my birthday, we decorate for Christmas. So my wonderful friends came and I don't know, can they see the tree? No. Can they see it? You got to see my tree.
Keep talking.
Oh, you can get that, Livia, if you'd like. So, anyways, welcome. He's going to show you the tree just so you all can see how crazy I am. That is a 12-foot Christmas tree that takes an army to put it up. So, now that we talked all about Christmas, I don't want to hear the comments. I do believe in Thanksgiving. I do believe in the rest of fall, but just makes things easier to have it all up. So, today we have an interesting topic. It is fine. It is fine. All right, one more interruption quickly before we get started. So,
What is that?
this is my coffee cup for the holiday season.
What?
Yeah. So I do a lot with Akron Children's Hospital, and I collect donations for several of the families, and I help with all 362 kids that are estimated to spend the night, Christmas night, at the hospital. So I drink a lot of coffee. So this is my, and I mean, it's real.
That's perfect. Yeah.
It's real, guys. So it takes an entire pot of coffee, and when I drink, it jingles. So, Merry Christmas.
Take the whole cup to do it all.
I will be up many, many nights wrapping all of those presents and everything else. So, all right. Well, we are live. I do have my phone, so please make sure you hit the like button or share. Tonight, we have a topic that's often talked about, foster and adopt. I believe that this is a subject that it's a hot subject right now. Like, everyone's talking about it. New people are getting into it. But I want to share tonight, a little of the general information, but then go a little deeper. So with me tonight, I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves and kind of maybe just generally what brought you into the adoption world. Okay?
Okay. I'm Jen. My husband and I have been licensed a little over 3.5 years now. We did the whole trying to get pregnant IVF thing, didn't work. Basically, that November when we found out it didn't work, that December we started classes.
Okay.
So I had always knew I would foster and adopt at some point, but I always figured we'd have one or two of our own first, but that didn't work out. So now we have 4 little ones running around our house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been fostering and adopting? Like, how long have you had children in your home?
So we've been doing it for 3.5 years. We have a sibling set that's been in our house for 2.5 years, and we have a little boy who's been in our house for about a month and a half.
All right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Busy lady. So go ahead.
All right. My name is Rebecca, and I have been fostering for 9 years now. And I met my wife when I was about 2 years into the process. Well, 1.5 years. And so she continued that journey with me. And I think I got into fostering mostly because I always knew I wanted to have kids, but I didn't necessarily, I kind of always felt like I wouldn't have them in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And I had, I was almost 30. I had a house, I had a car, I had everything that I needed, and I just thought, why not share it with kids that needed a safe place to land for a while.
Awesome. So did you, but you do have one child biologically yours, correct?
Yes, but we did not have him until after.
That's what I was going to ask.
We fostered first and adopted first, and then decided we didn't want an only child. So that was really just to make a sibling.
Perfect.
Yeah, that we knew was going to be hanging around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, and a little about me, and I haven't said this publicly, and I'm kind of like watching who's watching right now, which does not matter, but, so I have Carter and Olivia. Olivia is 12 and Carter is 8, and, I shared on this show probably a few months ago how I got pregnant with a little boy, and I lost him at 21 weeks, and at that point, I went on about 2 years of just, I need a baby. And it wasn't for the right reasons. Like, I was really trying to find that completing puzzle piece. And so, then I like really just started thinking and praying about it and kind of figuring out what I was going to do. And this little girl kind of fell in my life at the beginning of this year. And I had already looked into foster and adopt, and I had already looked into the classes and kind of it all. This was last year I did that. And so I then went through a divorce last year. And then at the beginning of this year, a little girl fell in my life who possibly, you know, she just came from a hard situation, and she was here full-time for several months. And I just realized, like, I was like, this is where I need to be. And so I started the process. I am done with my classes. I have my home study this week. And that is when my eyes were open to, this is not easy. And I don't even have a kid yet. Like, I have not even got any children. And it's a lot of work. When I walked into the first, so you, when you decide that you want to take this journey, you went through Summit County.
I went through some-
Did you go through Summit County?
Summit County.
So there is an option to go private or through the county, but they both require classes.
Mhm.
So when I walked into classes, policies and procedures, they handed me this big pack of paper, and I'm like, oh, this is all the paper? Perfect. That's like 5% of the paper.
We kill a lot of trees.
Yeah.
In some ways, the becoming a licensed part is one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, and I think that it is good. It is a good thing. But so then I started this process, and just to show, I had to fill out like an autobiography, which I learned at that time that I have not written in a long time. So to handwrite an autobiography and answer all of those questions, that was a challenge in itself. I'm like, can I text it to you? Can I type it to you? That didn't work. And, you know, they want to know references. And these are not just, hey, you kind of know me. Can you write a reference? These are some detailed references. Like, one of my favorite questions was, what's the dating life look like? Is it with one person or multiple? And how does she handle conflict? And I'm like, you got to really need to know that. I mean, so you're getting references and childcare and all this. So that started the process. And I went through all of the classes, but we were kind of talking about this. Going through the classes, we all need to do these classes, whether you're fostering or adopting. If you have a child, you should go through these classes. They teach you how to cope with the child, as well as just parenting, as well as I've learned a lot about myself, like how maybe I've responded because of ways I was raised. And I did not come from, I mean, I grew up in an alcoholic home, but I was not abused or had any of that stuff. But I was like, oh, I might do that because of that.
Yeah.
So what did that look like for you guys? Was the process similar? Because you took it 9 years ago, you went through the process. And then you were a little more recent.
I think it took about 9 months from like beginning to end for the classes, for the home study. I mean the home study and the lady that you spend multiple days with for multiple hours with, you know, she probably knows you better than your best friend by the end of this. You know, but they get evasive. Like, when was your first kiss? When did you learn about sex? Did your parents tell? They need to know all of this so they know what kind of child that would be best to be placed with you. And, you know, and if you've had sexual abuse, would a sexual abuse child be best to be placed with you? Depending on how you dealt with it, that answer would be yes or no.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
so like I get some of it, but you know, it's quite funny. Like when my husband and I were filling out the paperwork, I was very, very short, straight to the point on my answers, and he's writing novels, you know, about
God,
it.
if I had to write it, if I could type it, you'd get more information.
Well, they let us type on it.
They didn't let me type it. They told me I had to handwrite it. Like, that was one of the biggest instructions. I was like, I don't know about those.
Yeah, no, and I, you know, but like we did, when we did our classes, we, because of his work schedule, we had to do the one night, Friday night, and then we did the 2 classes Saturday. So it actually, the classes part went quicker, but that weekend where it was all about sexual abuse, it was like a whole weekend, like a long, like SVU marathon, basically, is how I...
And it's intense. I mean, can I say this? Scott didn't like me saying it. I had a class that for 45 minutes, they talked about, you know, well, for an hour or so, they talked about abuse. But then they went into, like, these kids are going to have this, and it's okay to touch themselves. It's okay to do this. It's okay. Like, they were talking very detailed. And at first I was like, I'm a little uncomfortable. And then I was like, no, I need to know this. Like,
Mhm.
this is what all children are feeling and going through, whether we want to admit it or not. Our kids, even if they haven't been abused, they're hearing things and they're learning things, and they need to know to be comfortable in their body, and they need to know all these things. And so the classes were very intense with information, but it was needed. I'm very thankful I had to take the classes. I could have done away with some of the people.
You'll continue to take classes.
Well, that's what they
Yeah.
said too. So the classes
The
were
classes don't
never
stop.
they were 12 classes, and I, because of my Summit County offered them Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I couldn't do Thursdays, so then I would go to Trumbull County, which is an hour drive, on Wednesdays to cover that. Then I took some in Jahaga, yeah, whatever county, Geauga,
There you go.
whatever county that is.
Jog Lake.
Geauga Lake's not there
What did you
anymore,
just
and
say?
neither is.
That's the county. You just said it.
Yeah, I can only say it if I'm following it with the word lake. Get over it. But yeah, I took those 2 days. They offered them 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So so I went through the classes. I have not got my home study is this week, my first one. I got my fire inspection. So a firefighter comes in, goes through your whole house. That was fun.
Yeah, and that's totally dependent on like
What-
which firefighter comes to your house, which fire
City,
department it is,
yep.
which city you live in.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
they're all very different, and some people have issues with certain things, and there are things that they never checked in my house. You know.
So I called Akron because I am in Copley, which is a township of Akron. So Summit County told me to call Akron. Akron came in, you need ladders, you need this, you need that, you need all this. Then at the very end, they were like, you know what? Really, Copley should be doing your inspection. I was like, oh, thanks for telling me that now. So then I went and did those things. So today, Copley came. They were like, you don't need a ladder. There's a roof outside this window. He'll just jump on the roof and run over to the side. And I was like, oh, like he just changed the whole thing. So anyway, so it's a process. It's a process to get into. I think that does deter people to a certain extent. There's been a couple times where I'm like, I'm done. Especially my financial statements. They need to know my life insurance, my mortgage, my credit cards, my
You have to update that every 2 years.
yeah, and I don't have anything to hide, but I was kind of like, why do I gotta tell you that?
And I feel like our income to debt ratio hasn't necessarily improved like, since we've started. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
depending on what kids you have and what you're going through in life. As long as there's not an imbalance and your debt is higher than your income, then
they're
you're
fine
good.
with it, and I understand why. So what we're trying to say is the process is a little trying, but it is worth it. It is worth it in the end. You are. So what made you? So I had said, kind of how I made this decision to really force forward and push forward was that little girl coming into my life and me just seeing how much it completed our family, as well as I just felt my heart definitely led in that direction of, I've been blessed with this house. This house is big enough. My heart's big enough, our love. And in fact, kind of what we went through, we know what it feels like to be abandoned and to not have love from somebody that you thought you had, and that was your security. And so that was kind of my driven. What made you make that decision 9 years ago? Kind of.
Like I said, I think it was just knowing that I had everything that I needed, and there were kids out there that didn't. And I don't know if it was watching, lots of Law and Order, or there was a time where I was working at a pediatric office where our patients were primarily lower income, lower socioeconomic
Yeah.
status patients, and we did see a lot of foster kids come through there, and I just thought, this is something I could do. I definitely felt a calling. For me, it wasn't spiritual or religious necessarily. I felt like it was like my duty to society.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
More of a, I'm trying to think of the right words, more of a social cause rather than a religious calling, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's different for everybody, but if a kid is uncared for in our society and our culture, it's not just the parents' fault.
Yeah.
Everybody's to blame, so we should all be responsible. That's kind of how I felt when I got into it.
That makes sense. Yeah. did you have multiple kids? Because one thing that I'm fearing about is you're hearing, I might have a kid come in and stay 3 days and then leave. May come a kid a month and then leave. There's no time frame of where they'll stay. There's no time frame of how long, how short, and whatnot. Did you have many multiples in and out? Was there like a revolving door there for a little bit?
We had a lot of long-term placements.
Okay.
I think mostly because we took our area of comfort was taking babies.
Okay.
So we had a lot of longer-term placements because typically if a kid's coming into care right at birth, there's something that the parent's going through that's going to need a longer fix
Yeah.
than,
Okay.
if an older kid came into care. But we had some that were, I think my first placement was a set of twins that I had for 3 or 4 days, which was a great introduction into,
Here are 2 babies.
here's 2 babies, I was single at the time.
Congratulations. Here you go.
Right. They took all these pictures and they had matching outfits for like those 3 days, and then they went to a family member very quickly, which is great for them, and that's what's supposed to happen. But it was just, I think it was good that it worked out that way, because then my next couple placements were longer.
Okay.
So
What about yours?
So our first placement ended up being just under 6 months, and then he was reunited.
Okay.
The sibling set that we have now, we were technically only supposed to have him for like 2 weeks. We were going on 2.5 years.
Wow.
So
Why did they say only 2 weeks?
So originally, like the thought was they were going to go to family. Some family got approved, some family didn't, but each family member only wanted 1. They didn't want to take
They
all
didn't
3,
want-
and that would have been 3 under 3 at the time when they first came in. So they ended up not wanting to split the kids up. And they still thought this was going to be an easy case, like under 6 months even. So we're like, okay, we'll keep them. And then, here we are.
2.5 years later.
well, and can I ask, are they full siblings?
They are full
Okay.
siblings, yeah.
Because that's another issue you run into is, let's say you have a sibling set, but they're not necessarily, they have,
Same mom,
dad,
different
dad,
dads.
yeah.
Then there are paternal family available for one of the fathers that's
Mhm.
willing to take one of the kids.
but not all of them.
But not all of them,
Right.
because they're not.
Will they then split them up if that occurs? Do you know?
Yeah.
Because then they go to parents.
So
Okay.
we're family.
Yeah, they kind of have to weigh out the
good and the bad.
Okay.
the good
And
and the
then-
bad of going with
and then-
relatives versus keeping the siblings together.
Right, but then they'll try and do sibling visits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So at least
And-
once a
and
month.
Let's talk about that too. So how does that go over? Because I'm being told like there can be babies you'll have up to 3 visits a week where you need to go
Mhm.
for 2 hours to the visiting center, and if there's siblings and if they're multiple, how do you keep up with that?
I have a calendar. I don't even use my phone because I am not high tech at all. Anybody who knows me knows
It's
that.
easier to see.
I have a.
Well, if you've got kids going here and there, and I can't even keep track of my 2,
Mhm.
and their schedule is
everything has to be written down. I've learned this
Yeah.
from the get go, and and I've always been a very like on top of it kind of person when it comes to stuff like that. But you learn very quickly all the appointments. You got doctor's appointments. You got Help Me Grow. You got visitation. You got whatever appointments that you have. You have to have it in there because you have to work around your work schedule, your life schedule.
Mhm.
Are they
you know.
flexible at all? Like what happens if a parent's working 8 to 5?
A foster parent,
Yeah, foster parents working 8 to 5.
They will try to make you leave work and do the visit and
Wow.
drop off. There is transportation, but it is scarcely available. And that's pretty much on like the most needed.
So if you worked
Desperate.
full time and your children went to daycare, there is a possibility
right?
for children to get picked up or
Mhm.
It's definitely different than when I first started. When I first started fostering, I was working. I wasn't 100% full time. I had 1 day off during the week, so I did transport to visits on those days. But there's more than double the amount of children in care now than there were when I started fostering 9 years ago. So all of those kids are having visits, and the the transportation department can't
They did-
transport all of them.
They
And
didn't grow the transport department.
No, and
okay. And what is the transport? Is it actually through Summit County, or are we talking like bus or
No,
town?
no,
Okay.
it's through Children's Services. It's one of their social workers or their team of whoever,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
and they have vans and car seats and different things like that. And
Mhm.
they'll pick them up either from daycare or wherever, and
Okay.
then take them back if needed. But they really want you to do it
Yeah.
as much as possible.
So this
Yeah.
is pretty much a job.
It is a job.
I mean,
depending on how many kids you have and how often their visits are, I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, you can be a single working foster parent and do it, but it's easier if you have a 2-parent family with one parent that stays home or has a flexible schedule, because they're requiring a lot of your time. That's basically what it is. It's your time.
So like today I had dad's visit. Tomorrow I have the other kids' mom's visit, and then on Wednesday I have the moms for the 3 that had the visit today.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So you bring up the parents. You know, when you sign up to be a foster parent, you're thinking you're getting children.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually fostering kind of the rest of the
Whole
family
family.
too.
Oh yeah.
So when you're doing these visits, do you have contact with moms and dads and all of that? Are you seeing them, or are you just dropping off and leaving? Like, what does that look like?
I would say for me, like to start with, I kind of drop off and leave, and then you know, kind of to feel it out and build relationship from there. I tend to have a better relationship with the moms, but that's just because that's who I work with on a daily basis, teaching young moms anyway. So I do really try to have a relationship because they are their mom. We don't, you know, and if I need questions answered, like I know that Children's Services doesn't know, they're gonna know, and I want to be able to email or text them or you know, whatever. You know, so both of the parents that we've had on the moms have been great. The dads not so much, and it's just different vibes, different things. You know, you try, but the biggest thing is as long as you're documenting everything that you tried, you can't get in trouble for it.
Yeah,
you know?
And that is what I had learned as well. They said email because they need record of all of that. So what does that look like? I mean, have either of you, and don't go in personal details, but now we have the epidemic, and that is something they keep saying every class. If you'll take babies, you're going to get drug-addicted babies. You're going to get weaning babies. You're going to get kids that have, how do you deal with their parents? How do you keep yourself safe and your children safe while taking care of these children if you're having to see them at visits? And, you know, because why aren't they coming after their kids? Why? I mean, when you're under the influence, you could be a danger.
I haven't had to deal with that. That wasn't the reason for either of our parents for everything. So, but I like, there is a danger, but I do know a lot of them have to be drug tested to see the kids. They'll swab them there at the FIC and stuff like that too. And you know, and if there truly was a danger, they wouldn't be letting them see the kids.
That is very true
at that point either. But they will want to, once they're clean and stuff, they will, you know, introduce, you know, visits back in and different things like that. So
how do you keep yourself safe though in your house? They don't have your address. They don't have contact. Okay.
Yeah.
I think anybody can find anything nowadays.
That's what I was thinking, and that was one of my biggest fears. When my first class, my first thing was, are they going to know where I live? Yeah. Are they gonna have this information? And I was really concerned of how that would look.
Yeah, no, they don't have that information. But if you're smart enough,
but you're right.
Anybody
can find it.
Anybody can find it. I think you just kind of have to feel each situation out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I've only had one birth parent, and this was when I first started fostering. That was scary to me.
Okay.
And she was just. I think I was just very young and naive. It was one of my first placements, and she was super intimidating, and she was also very angry, which is
that's
100%.
They're going to be angry.
Yeah.
You didn't take their children, but in their eyes, you took my baby, you took my child, and they're going to be angry with you, and that's not the person to be angry with, but that's human nature, guys.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, a lot of the parents, they don't necessarily. They might find out where you live, but honestly, I don't think any of the people that I came in contact with, most parents aren't going to do anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, they want to know where you live. They want to know their baby is safe. They're worried about their kids. They want to know where they are. And if their child is in foster care, chances are they may not have a lot of resources. It's not like they're going to have, you know, reliable transportation to drive by your house and see what's going on.
This is very true. Yeah.
They're working on getting their own lives together. They can't worry about, you know, bothering you. They're worried about their own kids.
And so, taking you're going to interrupt our show for this? I'm sorry. Our producer's going to be fired. We'll be hiring a new one. because he's deciding to interrupt my show for this. Oh, this is cute.
Look at that. Isn't that cute?
It is even cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
That wasn't even one of the cakes
He
that was
shows
over
up there. I know.
I brought that one.
This wasn't in the script.
I brought that one.
Are you gonna sing to me then? What are you
No, I'm not singing. I'm not playing anything. Just happy birthday.
So today is my birthday, everyone.
Happy birthday.
Yep, happy
So,
birthday.
that candle's gonna. And so that is so sweet. It's a little cupcake. I can't eat this in front of them. You
I'm
didn't
gonna
get
get them pieces too.
Okay, I was about to say. You can't. I'm sorry. He must not know me too well to think I'm gonna talk and shove. I'm gonna have to
We
like
asked the question that he
shove cheesecake in my face the whole time. So, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I want to take that a step farther into kind of going of you've gone through your classes. You're certified. You now have these children in your home. You know, the parents are going to be like, don't discipline my kid. Don't do this. Don't do that. You're not their mother. You know, you hear this all the time. How do you raise that child to the best of your ability during the time you have it appropriately with all of that? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, how do you discipline this child? How do you, because I'm going to tell you, I discipline my children in a certain way. I watch other people discipline children. I do not whip my children. It's one thing. It's not something that I'm against. I've just never had to. I really have been able to have conversations, and I say this now, my children are pretty well behaved children. We have a lot of more conversations, that it's never got to the point where I have to like bend you over my knee and whip your butt.
Mhm.
But I know that each person disciplines their children differently. How do you discipline these children? How do you push them in the right direction when you've got the influence of parents and everything else coming into?
It's tricky. There are rules and regs of what we are allowed to do and what we are not allowed to do. Spanking is one we are not allowed to do. So you do have to get creative with the punishments and different things like that.
Because these children are going to be acting out even possibly more than normal because of their situation.
Yeah.
Right, and we've gotten pretty lucky, like with the littles, like a timeout or a time in.
Okay.
Just sitting in a chair.
What is a time in?
So time in is
What
the
is a time in?
Please inform me. I'm going to take any discipline advice that's allowed.
a time in is instead of sending the child away, have them with you doing something, having that interaction.
My
with
kids
them.
would purposely misbehave at that point. My children
that
would
is-
purposely misbehave so that they could have that time.
that is what a time in is.
Okay.
So recently, since our one has started kindergarten and is learning how to write, he is now learning, like, I will not do such and such. So it's a twofold. One, he's getting his practice on writing.
Perfect.
Two,
Yeah,
it's
that's a great idea.
That is a
it's
great
it's a little
idea.
bit of a punishment because he has to sit there and write it. So you do kind of have to think outside the box. Now, I have a very really good relationship with their mom. Mom can still spank them at visits. I have threatened to call mom or use mom before if it had gotten out of hand.
Interesting.
And she's with me. She's told me that I
Okay.
can absolutely do that. So it also depends on your relationship with
That's
your,
true.
So
So building that relationship is beneficial.
It is
important,
It is
yeah.
so important, and especially because what happens is if they go, get returned or reunified, back to their parents. If you still have that relationship, you can go from the parental figures to the funny aunt and uncle and still be in their life.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
and that mom now has that support system that she didn't have before.
Yeah. So I just had, and guys, I am watching the comments. So if you have comments, questions, anything like that, please chime in. I did just get a comment she actually sent it as a text message. So I think she didn't want to be named. She sent a text message that simply said, in today's society, when you're wanting to adopt a baby so much, you may not want to tell them about parents or anything. How do you keep that relationship fostering? They know that they came from somewhere else. You want to keep that relationship, right? Like you have 3, and you said
with the birth parents?
Yes, with the birth parents. She's telling me, and in today's society of, if you're going in this to adopt, which they tell you right off the bat,
Not
the
to.
number one thing is they're hoping all
Reunify.
of these kids, you never get a baby to adopt. They're hoping that
Right.
all of it is reunified.
The goal of foster care is
Is
always
always-
reunification, and you don't go into foster care to get a baby or to get a child. The
Yes.
goal of foster care is to find a family for a child
Yeah.
just until they can be returned to their first
Yes.
family.
So I think kind of what she's meaning by that is if you know that this child is staying or may be staying, how do you keep that connection with the family? And if you do then adopt, do you continue to maybe have visits? Do you continue to have those relationships? I know the life books. We've heard a lot about life books in the classes that I'm in. How you have 3 that all have different.
Yeah, we have 3 adopted kids. We have 3 adopted daughters, an 8-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and then 1 little boy that I gave birth to who is almost 5. So, and all 3 of our girls are from different first families. So we've got 3 different birth moms that we keep in contact with. Only 1 birth dad that we keep in contact with. Several various aunts and grandmas, and they're different because they're from different families. So
Yeah. So you have a lot of family. You have a lot
Yeah,
of people to
it's-
keep.
Mhm.
Do you find that to be complicated, or do you find it also a blessing because you're giving that piece to them?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's a blessing. The complicated part is working in the time to make time for all of those family members that want to see their kid. I mean, it's especially if you have a birth family that doesn't have reliable transportation, or we're busier than we were when we adopted our first, because now we have 4, right?
Yeah.
So when we adopted our first, we saw her birth mom way more often than we get to see our younger 2's.
That makes
families,
sense.
because we have 4 kids now and we're just a lot busier. But mostly it's a blessing.
hearing
All
these
of these
comments?
people are our extended family.
Yeah.
And every single one of the people that we are in contact with that are birth family for any of our kids have 100% accepted all of our other kids,
That is
as
so
their
important.
family too. At least that's how I feel. I hope they feel the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
Grandma Mickey is Grandma Mickey to all of the kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is something that is huge. Now I can tell you, I have brothers, and I wasn't adopted, but I have a brother who is 9 years older than me, and so and he had a different dad, and dad would bring in other people into the life, and my mom, one thing that she did, she would at Christmas, everybody, whoever was dating anybody, had kid, all of the children were equal. And that was something that was very, very important. And I remember being raised of, all kids are the same. They're all family, whether you're in our family 6 months or you're in our family here to stay, you'll be treated the same. And so that is something that I want. And I want to make sure that when other children come into this home, they feel just as much as my kids why they're here than my own children. And so, what does that look like? So all 3 of yours are the same family, right? So that kind of helps a little bit. You've got those separation of mom and dad and all that.
Yeah, and we've really tried to keep everything equal. My mom, Greg's parents, all the kids are the same and whatnot, and stuff like that. So it's going to be, each case is different. Each bio parent is different, and what works for one may not work for another. And
so it is a day by day.
It is a day by day, and it's a mood by mood, and it depends if they talk to the social worker that day and they got bad news. Depending on how they're going to act towards you, you just never know. It's a lot of things, that's coming at them that they have to do. That sometimes they take it out on us, even though some mean to, but then some don't mean to.
And that's pretty common. When you get upset and you have a bad day, you're going to take it out on someone.
Yeah.
And so we have a question. Jennifer just sent in a question of, once you adopt, do you allow the birth family to still spend time with them? Like grandparents, aunts, parents that aren't involved. So more of, do you just keep contact, I think she's asking, or do any of your children go to other families' houses and spend time? Now that they're permanently adopted. Okay.
We have. We've done it on a case-by-case basis. Our middle daughter that's adopted, she has a couple of aunts that she's spent the night at their house. And going into this 9 years ago, I never would have thought that, if I adopt, I'm not going to let them spend the night with any birth family or family of origin.
But that is scary, though.
It is scary. But these are aunts that one of them was checked out by the agency as possible legal custody or kinship. So we knew from the get-go that she was safe. And another one of the aunts has custody of our daughter's half-sibling. So we know that at that time she was checked out by the agency.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to use your gut too. But
Exactly. Yeah.
and actually, our daughter that has gone to an aunt's house, she's gone with our oldest adopted daughter. She's gone with our son one time too. So they've embraced all
The
of the
whole
kids.
family.
Yeah,
And that's wonderful.
yeah.
I had a good question, but I think it just totally. Oh, so so we did talk at the beginning. We talked a little bit about finance, though. So I have heard, even in class, people are so worried about how much money you make to foster and adopt. We had said it takes as much time as a job. It does not pay like a job.
No.
I believe I was told $25 to $30 a day per kid. Siblings, you get a little more, and there was all these like stipends, maybe here. What does that look like as your? Do you get clothing allowance? I heard it's only one time.
So there are rules and there are guidelines, and then there are who do you have as your worker who can get you some
Okay.
extras.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's an interesting way to look at it.
but generally, the 25 to 30 is right, depending on if you're a stay-at-home mom or if they're giving you a little bit more for daycare. It depends on if they're medically fragile. You get a little bit more because they require more training and stuff for you to do.
And I think every county is different.
What county were you licensed? Were you at Summit?
I was licensed in Summit,
Okay.
but I know, or at least I've heard, I think it was Cuyahoga County, they pay daycare directly, whereas Summit County doesn't.
Well,
No, Summit County, I think you get a stipend.
You get
but it's
extra-
only like $10, $12 a day.
So
So it doesn't work out
Nobody's
to cover
gonna
what
watch my
daycare
kid
is.
for $10 or $12 a day.
Right.
So both of us work full time. So we get full time daycare. It covers the stipend technically covers about 80%.
Oh, right.
So the rest of
The
it,
extra stipend.
the extra
Right.
little bit covers about 80%. I swipe every month about $2,400 worth for daycare. And the rest of that comes out of the check. The rest of it comes out of Greg's check, my check. Like you don't make money.
Yeah.
No.
Doing
I thought it
foster
was
care.
pretty
like,
funny when I got that term of,
No.
we're going to do this to make it. And that's probably why they check your debt to income and all that, too.
And it is.
Right, because
but
you end up paying out of pocket, and not that that's a bad thing. I mean, that's
No,
what you
but
signed up for.
I'm just
yes.
bringing this up
That
for people who feel like it's a part-time job, because
No.
it's not a part-time job. So moving through that, once you adopt,
Mhm.
what happens then? All of a sudden the checks stop and they're yours? You do get medical?
From what I understand, the child has to qualify for Medicaid in order to stay on Medicaid.
Mhm.
I'm not 100%
Okay,
clear on
so
that.
because
but
I thought that once you adopted from Summit County, they got medical till 18.
No.
I
Well,
think-
it could be a secondary,
I think most
but
of
you
them
have to
do.
put
You
them
have to
on
have
your
primary.
I don't think you have to.
You don't?
You don't. Mm-mm.
Okay.
We chose to. The way our insurance is set up, once you're on a family plan,
It's the same
it's
price.
the same price.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's how mine is, too.
All of our kids have our, medical mutual as their primary, and then they have Medicaid as their secondary, which all of them were fortunate enough that they qualified for. And I think most of them do, unless they're in the system for a very short amount of time. If it's a safe haven baby or something, they may not qualify for Medicaid. But all of ours, can have Medicaid until they're 18. Kids that have special needs until they're 21, I believe. And then your child can qualify for an adoption subsidy, which is very minimal and far less than what the foster care stipend is.
Okay.
And not all kids qualify for it.
Yeah.
So it is, again,
And you
on
have
a
to
much need basis. I think the title of this show should now be Foster Care Case by Case, because
It-
everything is very different.
It is.
And there's no right or wrong rule. I've like ate all the cheese. If you guys haven't eaten any of your birthday cheese, I have no shame in my game at all right now.
So since we're just talking about adoption, November is adoption month.
yes,
And since we're talking about funds, it actually costs next to nothing to actually adopt from foster care.
mm-mm.
So you
And that's where we were going because when
cut-
earlier I talked about private versus county. If you can private adopt. I looked into it. Danielle, you're buying a baby. I mean, you're looking at $30,000 to $35,000 and you get this baby. But there's so many children out there that don't have a home, and yeah, you're gonna have to jump through all these hoops, and no child is gonna be easy.
Mhm.
This one might come with a little extra bruises and all of
The
that.
kid I gave birth to was the hardest baby out of all of the babies that we ever had. He was the most challenging baby.
Really.
Yes.
So what you're saying, people can just adopt from Summit County.
Yeah, there's children waiting that are up for adoption that either their foster home isn't licensed to do that, or they are
Okay.
choosing not to, but they are there. But like it's basically a $250 fee to adopt them that you get reimbursed.
These are kids, that are available. They're not babies.
They're-
Usually.
They're mostly
older kids, sibling groups.
Yeah.
Some have medical needs, but if you're called to adopt and you are thinking that it's super expensive, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
No,
These are
not
kids-
going through the counties.
Right.
Yeah.
These are kids that need somebody right now.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, there's so much. They do ask so many questions and kind of during the process eliminate exactly what you want and what you're looking at. But there's been so many times in this process that I've changed what I want. I went in going, I want babies. I want babies and babies only. Now I'm like, I don't think I want babies. I think I'm at like 3 to 6 now. And it's as you learn it, you realize the need. You realize where there are people that I know that solely won't take babies. And then there's the 3 to 6-year-olds that are kind of in that awkward, nobody wants to volunteer to take the 3-year-old tantrum child that's just, has all those. And then the sibling groups.
Right.
And all of that. So I know in my paperwork it asked all that too.
It asks you that, but like you're saying, you figure the need, but you're going through this process. You're learning what you can handle.
Yeah.
Because we are technically licensed 0 to 18. We've said we would take teen moms. Like we've ran the gamut.
You have the whole.
But we all so far we've had is between the 2 to 5-year-olds. And
Yeah.
which is fine. So it's leaving stuff open for future. Because you can always change that. Every time your home coordinator comes out,
You can alter that.
You
change
can
it.
alter that and change
Or if they
that.
call you and
Would
say, "Hey, can you take this child?" and it's not within your range, then they can change your paperwork that day.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's very peaceful. I laugh at it because my children, I think that God knew I couldn't handle sleepless nights. Both of my children slept through the night their first night home. Never were up at night. My babies were, like, I couldn't have planned perfect.
That doesn't make me like you at
At
all.
all.
So now looking, that didn't give me any points.
No.
So now getting it, I'm like, what do you mean these babies are up all night? Well, of course they're up all night. Those are the standards. But I've had a lot of people come in saying the babies are the easiest. I want babies because they're little, they're tiny, they're the easiest. And right now, that is the bigger need. Most of the children
Is that what
coming
they're
in,
saying in class right
yes,
now?
in class they are saying that. I think the number was 47% of the children that are coming into foster are under the age of 3 now, and majority of them are babies right out. You're picking them up from the NICU.
From
You're
the NICU,
picking
yeah.
them up straight from, and so you have those nights. They're coming off something. So you're the screaming. That's why I brought that up. They're screaming through the night. They're screaming. They're going through withdrawals. They're having trembles. They're having all of that going on. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle that.
But that's if you can't, that's okay. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with you if you can't.
I'm one of those crazy
Yeah.
people I had 4 3-year-olds in my house today running around, and I was like in the happiest place. And most people will be like,
Well, God bless you.
no, thank you. I was like,
Monday cannot come soon enough for daycare.
I mean, you could get a 3-year-old 3-year-old, I mean, a 3-year-old who's traumatized and been removed from his family, or a 6-year-old, like, they're not going to sleep through the night either.
Yeah.
No, they're
Yeah.
not.
You know?
And that's the thing. So you don't know what you're gonna get, and I think that going through it and just kind of leaning in on it and opening your home and knowing that no matter what the age is, no matter what their story is, they just need to feel safe and loved, and that is all. That is what I keep telling people. That's what I'm providing. I have no idea what I'm getting into.
Oh,
And then she laughed at me because I had to reschedule this show 3 times, which I've never had to do. And every time I'd message them, I'd be like, I have this class now and I have this home study. And they just would giggle because they were like, you have no idea what's about to happen.
Well, and you don't. And and people, they will tell you in class, it's hard. But you don't realize how hard it is until that first child is in your house.
Yeah. And every kid is different.
And every child's different. So, it's hard. They're coming in, you're changing your schedule, their schedule, different, daycares if they were going, and then, and then they go home. So then that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the next one, then it's hard. But then you got all the court system part of it too, and learning all that in different things.
It's a learning process.
It is a learning process, and it is hard. It is not for the faint of heart.
And the child is not the hardest. I mean, usually, I mean, from my perspective, having only little kids, the kid is the easy part.
Yeah.
I mean, there are saints out there who take teenagers and older kids who've got a lot more baggage than the little kids that we've had. So I'm only speaking for myself, but in my opinion, the children are the easy part.
Well, and that's what I'm starting to
it's the system
even understand.
that wears you down.
Yeah.
Just the process of all of that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, counties outside of your own county. I'm not sure. Jennifer, can you kind of expand a little bit on what you're saying? She just sent counties outside of your own county. So I'm not sure if each county is different. Each has different.
You can become licensed in a county that you don't live in.
Okay.
And some people don't know that. So I don't know.
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know where Shelby County is. I know I had a friend who was going through the process in Geauga County, and they don't place a lot of children there. It's just not, as populated as, Summit County or Cuyahoga County.
Yeah.
So I think, at least in Summit County, you can be licensed in Summit County if you live in a neighboring county.
It has to be a touching county, yes.
But I do know a foster parent that lives near Sandusky, maybe, but then you have to be willing to provide all of your transportation.
Well, and
you
that's
have to show up to everything on time.
And all of their visits would be in Summit County. Most likely, if they're school age, their children are going to Summit County. So that would add a whole different book.
Yeah. If you live in a county where there isn't a great need, I would suggest either become licensed with a private agency or with a neighboring county. I don't know a lot about private agencies, and I hear people complain about them. Honestly, I think Summit County is great.
Well, Summit County has Caring for Kids, which is a private agency that's pretty much tied. I mean, I have Caring for Kids coming out for home study and all that. Like, they're processing everything, but I won't be licensed through them. Live in Medina County, but foster in Summit County. Yes. Okay, thank you, Allie.
Hi, Allie.
So it is possible. And Allie, can I ask why, if you live in Medina, are you not fostering in Medina? Is it because of children needs and that? If you wouldn't mind answering that. You guys got my point. So we must have answered Jennifer's question.
I know Allie grew up in Summit County,
so maybe,
but I don't know.
Familiarness in that. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to close up tonight. Is there anything that we discussed kind of before and I didn't cover that you guys want to share, want to inform? Would you recommend people to go to do this?
Yeah, they need it. There are, I think, last I heard, there's like 156 licensed foster homes, but there's like 867 kids.
Yeah.
I brought a paper somewhere that had like statistics on it, but I left it.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah,
I love hearing.
It's in my purse. I can remember it.
If you want to grab it, you can. But that's true. The statistic. You think, and I can say it because I was that person for a little bit. I will just have my own child. Somebody's gonna do it. They don't need that many.
Right.
Somebody. And I kept pushing it off until, I realized that, someone else is going to do it, but there's still going to be more children that need that. And I think, bringing the raw and the real to this, people don't want we talked the comments that are made. I can tell you there's a lot of people not on board. There's a lot of people that are like, you have gone, I was just told yesterday, you've gone through so much. Why would you bring more drama into the house? I'm not bringing more drama in the house. My children have walked this journey with me. Every time class is over, I come home, I explain it to them, I tell them, I'm not getting you a playmate. We're not doing this so that you have somebody to play with. This is going to be hard. Things are going to get broken differently. Things are going to get missed. Schedules are going to have to everybody work together. It's not going to be easy, but everyone needs to play a role because there's too many children out there that need somewhere to go.
Right.
Yeah, and we were told we were crazy by multiple people. And the answer, yes, we are crazy.
Yeah.
You have to be to do this. But you also can't be afraid to get attached. You have to get attached. That's what these kids need. They need love. They need attachment. And then you have to love them enough to attach to them, love them while they're there, but then love them enough to let them go home.
Yeah, because ultimately you want them to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Fostering is the best thing I've ever done. We have 3 beautiful kids that we've adopted from foster care, and not only the kids, but we've grown our family, our extended family through adopting, our girls. And I've kept in contact with the families of foster kids that we've had in our home before. I consider them my friends and family. To maintain contact, keep those relationships. It's just, it kind of ties you to your community in a way that you might not otherwise be connected to people. And I think that's so important because everybody comes from a different walk of life, and everybody is just doing the best they can most of the time. And why not help somebody in some way,
Yeah. No, that's a good way of looking at it. For sure. So thank you guys so much for being on.
Thanks for having us.
We will continue this conversation. Make sure there were several comments, and I got a few text messages. I will respond. If you have questions specifically for them, if they have totally different stories, or I'm walking through it right now, so I can help with that process. The home study lady did a call, and she called today to confirm. And she was like, just so you know, I'm going to be at your house 2 to 4 hours. And I'm like, what do you need to talk about for 2 to 4 hours? By a minimum of 3 times. So I feel like I'm going to get a new best friend.
I told you. I told you.
So I'm a little nervous about it. But, so I can kind of answer any questions during that process, like, because I'm walking through that. And then you've been in it 9 years. And just, so, if this is something that's on your heart and you have a few questions, if you think we're crazy and still just have some questions, feel free to let us know, and we will answer them to our best of our ability. Next week we do not have a show because I will be eating turkey under my Christmas tree. No shame. Again, no shame. I do have shame though that when we decorated for Christmas, a certain someone who is not watching right now threw away all of my fall decorations. I usually just lay my Christmas decorations over the fall decorations for a few weeks. So next week we do not have a show. The following week, I have one of my good friends that is Christmas guru, big time, a little bit more than me. And then we have another dear friend who is and practices all traditions, everything. And then I have a friend that raises her children with both because she is Catholic and he is Jewish. And so join us in that discussion. I believe that is December 5th. So just kind of answering questions of what they look like, what the difference is, and all that. So thanks for joining us this week. Thanks for letting me feed my face of cheesecake. Have a good night, guys. This Sip of Solidarity podcast is a copyright of the 330 To Go Media Network. Thank you for tuning in.